given the graph of f of x, but you don't know what the function is, I would like you to use the graph of f of x to sketch the graph of f prime of x. So you know f, but you don't know what the function is exactly. You want to use the clue you see on the graph of f to sketch f prime. Okay, so for the graph of f, I have a curve that looks like this. So going up and then up. I break this down into intervals. So when x is between a and b, exactly equals to b, b to c, c to d, at d, and then d to e. So the way I interpret this is I break down the f. Do you see that there is a xy plane? So this is x, and then this is y prime, this is x, this is y. So for this xy prime, I break this down into 4 zones. So take a look at this picture right over here. So I have x, and then I have a y prime. So do you see that the x-axis, what is the function at the x-axis? So at the x-axis, y prime is equals to 0. So I wrote 0 slope and horizontal tangent. So above the x-axis, we have 2 zones. One far away from the x-axis, one close to the x-axis. So when for the first zone, far away from the x-axis, that means the y prime is a big, right? Y prime is a big value. You can just draw an xy plane. So on the y-axis, what happens if you pick a y value that is so high above from the x-axis? That is a big y value, right? So how about big y prime? Big y prime means big f prime. Big f prime means there is a big slope. So that's why I wrote a positive. Positive means going uphill, big slope. So if you set the slope is in this zone or this region, that means the slope is big. So that means the line is very steep. The curve is very steep. And then for the zone or the region closer to the x-axis, we have a smaller slope, but the slope is still positive. So that I call that a less steep. So now you can compare the very steep and the less steep. The very steep is like slope equals to 6, right? So the less steep is like the slope is equals to 1/2. So very steep versus less steep. And then at the x-axis, y prime is equals to 0. So there is a horizontal slope tangent line, the slope is equals to 0. Below the x-axis, there are 2 zones. Closer to the x-axis, we have a negative value, right? So -1, -2, -3. So they are negative slope. That is less steep. So we have a line that is going downhill and less steep. Think about -1/2. And then the zone or region far away from the x-axis, you have a big negative y value, so such as -6, -8, -12. So if you put that on slope, so slope equals to -12 is big and negative, so the line is very steep. So do you see that there is an arrow, it's very steep, going downhill. So let's put this on the given problem. So from A to B, what do you see? So when you do this kind of problem, think about the graph of f of x as a roller coaster. So roller coaster, you are going up and down, right? Up and down, up and down. So imagine that this is the track of the roller coaster. So going up, reach to the top, going down, reach to the bottom, and then you go back up, right? So imagine that is the track. Okay, so from A to B, do you see that I drew some tangent lines? I drew several tangent lines. So starting from going up, and then as soon as you reach to the top, the line is still going up, but the tangent line is less steeper compared to the very beginning. And then you reach to the top, of course, that is a 0. So for x equals to b, what is this? This is a horizontal tangent line. What does that mean? That means the slope is equals to 0. But for A to B, we start from very steep. As you are getting closer and closer to 0, the tangent line is getting less steeper. So this is positive and then going uphill. But here is the behavior of the line starting with from very steep and then less steep and then less steep. As you getting closer and closer to 0, it is getting less steeper. So it is like this. So using the language of roller coaster, the roller coaster spend a lot of energy to go uphill, right? So up, 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 up. And then when you reach to the top, it is getting less steeper, less steeper, less steeper. And then eventually you reach to the top of the track, and then it stops for a little bit. So stop for a little bit, I mean, at this point, the position of the roller coaster is horizontal, right? It's horizontal, and then you will start going downhill. So from B to C, and then now you are moving away from the top, so it gets less steeper, and then go down really, really fast. Everybody is screaming, and then it gets less steeper, and then you reach to the bottom. So for x equals to d, you have a horizontal tangent, and then slope is equals to 0. How do you describe the slope? So from B to C, it starts getting negative and then going downhill. It is negative going downhill, so start from less steep, like that, steeper, very steep. So at this point, everybody is screaming so hard, and then this is negative going downhill as well. So everybody is still screaming, and then less steep, and then less steep, and then we will reach to 0. And then as you move away from D, past it, going uphill, the line goes like this, less steep, and then more steep, and then very steep. But how do you summarize this table onto the x and y prime? So here is how I do it. I start with all the horizontal tangent, one at B, one at D, right? So for the x, there is a horizontal tangent at B, and there is a horizontal tangent at D. I am not talking about the x-intercept. This graph is for f prime or y prime. This is for describing the slope. When x is equals to B and D, the slope is equals to 0. All right, how about from A to B? So starting from very steep to less steep, right? So that means I am moving away from far away from the x-axis to closer to the x-axis. So what do I mean is this. So very steep, and then less steep. I am not talking about the steepness of the curve. Having a point right here means very steep. Having a point right here is less steep. So I am moving toward the 0 slope. So that means I am moving like that. And then what about from B to C? From B to C, you are moving from B to C. First of all, the slope is negative, so you have some pieces below the x-axis. All right, so we will just getting less steeper. So we are looking at this line: steeper, very steep, and very steep. So steeper, very steep, very steep. So we are getting very steep. And then what's next? As you are getting closer and closer to D, it will just, the slope is getting closer and closer to 0, so we are getting less steep. So that means we have to make a turn, and then we have to meet up D. And then as you move away from D, the slope is getting less steep, so the stuff right here is less steep, and then getting very steep, getting steep. So it looks like that. I should just draw a line that looks like that here. So what is this? I'm not looking for a line, I'm looking for a curve. So what is this represent? This represents f prime of x. So now I just sketch the graph of f prime of x without knowing what the function of f of x is. Okay, so that's how you do it. If you like it, give me a thumbs up, and then I will show you more example in the next couple videos. All right, see you there.